everybody doing? Good? Good? Awesome.
Better with you.
Thank you, my man. So let me start by asking this question. How many of you are familiar with me and my backstory? Raise your hand. Okay, that hurts. But I figured. Thank you so much for some of you that raised your hands. So since most of you in the audience don't know much about me, I'm gonna give you my backstory and basically tell you how I got to this point where I talk about something like the thank you economy and what it means. And what I really want to talk about quite a bit today is social media, what it means, what it's about, how do we get ROI and dollars out of it, and all the questions we really have about the current state of the internet. I was born in Belarus, in the former Soviet Union. I immigrated to the United States when I was 3 years old, and we were very poor. Immigrant story, I lived with 8 family members in a very small apartment, 1 bedroom in Queens, New York. It was very difficult. When the economy was very bad in the United States, my dad was in the construction business in the Soviet Union. He thought he was going to do that in the United States, but he wasn't able to because the market was so bad. So to make ends meet, to make a little bit of money, he got a job as a stock boy in a liquor store in New Jersey. So he used to drive an hour and a half from Queens to New Jersey to make $2 an hour stocking shelves with liquor and beer. My dad and my mom are very much my heroes. They worked very hard. In New Jersey is when I started my business career. When I was 5 years old, I took all my friends in the neighborhood and I put them to work. I had 8 lemonade stands throughout New Jersey. I used to ride my little bicycle and pick up my cash like I was in the mafia or something. So it was a good business, and I learned a lot selling lemonade when I was 5 years old. Later, when I was 11, 12, I started my real first business, which was a sports card business. Baseball cards, football cards, basketball cards, they were very big at this time. I used to go to the malls of New Jersey and sell baseball cards and make $1,000 to $2,000 a weekend, which was a big deal, and I did extremely well. And when you're 13 years old and you have $20,000 under your bed and you're not selling drugs, you're doing a good job. So I was pretty happy. So things were good, life was good, and then my dad ruined my life when I turned 14. I was getting ready for a big baseball card show, the biggest one of the year. I paid $1,000 for my table. I was getting ready, and he walked in and said, "Son, you're coming to work today." And I said, "Dad, I think you're mistaking. Today's my biggest baseball card show of the year." I don't know how many of you in the audience have a Soviet father, but I lost that argument. So I did what any good 14-year-old would do at that point. I started to cry. I cried the whole way that we drove from the home to the store, which was 45 minutes away. And finally, when I got to 5 minutes away from the store, I asked my dad how much he was going to pay me. And he said $2 an hour, and then I really started crying. And so my career in the wine world, which is where I'm about to take you, started off very poorly. For the first 2 years, I had to be in the basement of the liquor store bagging ice, getting paid $2 an hour to bag ice for 10 hours a day. So instead of making $2,000 a weekend selling and doing what I loved, hanging out with my friends, and having a great time, I was making $20 a day bagging ice for a living, which sucked shit. How are you going to translate that? So, that's what I did. Finally, when I was 16, I was allowed to come upstairs. And something happened on one day that changed my life. The reason I'm standing here today. Every person came in that day asking for a wine called Caymus Special Select Cabernet. It was named the Wine of the Year. Very famous winery in California, similar of the status of a Vega Sicilia here. Very popular, people wanted it. Everybody came in, but we had sold it out. And so people were coming in, and I would have to say we're sold out, and they would leave. And it didn't feel like good business. So I decided that the next person that comes in, I'm gonna take a back order. We didn't have a back order system for the store, but I wasn't too worried because I was going to school on Monday anyway and didn't have to deal with it. Guy comes in, says, do you have the Caymus? I said, no. I said, can I take a back order? He said, sure. I took his information. I said, sir, how much wine would you like? A couple bottles? He said, no, I'll take 6 cases. I said, oh shit, an alcoholic. I said, are you having a party? He said, no, no, no. He said, I collect wine. And that was it. Right there in the Chardonnay section of my dad's store, when I realized that people collected wine the way I collected baseball and football and soccer cards, I made the connection. At that point, I already saw a lot of things that I wanted to do for my family business, but I didn't have passion for it. Now that I realized people collected, I said to myself, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Babe Ruth, Chateau Lafite, Vegas Sicilia, Silver Oak, same shit, I can figure this out. So I put all my energy into figuring out the wine world, and I decided right then and there I wanted to be the biggest wine expert and build the biggest wine company, period. At the time, I thought I would open hundreds of liquor stores, and that's what I was going to do. Went to university, went to school. I would come home every weekend and work in the store. One day at school in 1995, somebody called me over and said, Gary, you've got to come and see this. So I come over and I see a computer and I hear, that's how we used to sign up for the internet. And my friend said, we can get girls on this thing. And I said, really? And then he started typing, and about 30 seconds, and I'd never seen the internet before, about 30 seconds into him trying to talk to girls on the internet, I said, I can sell shit on this. And that's where my life really changed. What happened from there on is this. What I'm about to talk to you about for the next 40 minutes, and then hopefully we'll do some Q&A, is super interesting to me because I am not really tech savvy. I did not grow up loving technology. I'm not a 17-year-old. I didn't grow up with this stuff. I didn't have my first computer until I was 20 years old. I do not love all this stuff because I love technology. I love social media because it sells shit. I'm a businessman. So what's very important for you to understand is my filter. Social media and the web do many things. They knock over bad governments. There's a lot of social good it creates, education. I love it, and it's awesome, but I have no expertise in all those things. What I know what to do in is selling product and making business happen. And so when I saw that, that's where I went. I launched WineLibrary.com. My dad's store was called Shoppers Discount Liquors. I wanted to be a wine empire, so I branded it Wine Library, and we launched WineLibrary.com in 1997. It did not do well the first couple of years because everything I'm about to talk to you about and that we're debating in social media is the same things we were debating in 1997 about e-commerce. In 1997, 1998, people were arguing many things, including the internet was a fad. Also, people were debating if people would put credit cards into a computer and actually buy stuff. Now we debate the ROI of Facebook and Twitter, and we'll get into that in a minute. But this is the same old story. I stand up here very confident because this is what I was doing 10 years ago, debating e-commerce, or 15 years ago. So I launched WineLibrary.com, and I built a very large business from the year 1998, when I took over operations, until 2005. I grew Wine Library in a very short 7-year period from a $3 to a $50 million a year business. And I did it through traditional media, print, radio, TV ads, email, banner ads. And that's what every business in this room and every business has been doing for the last 150 years. For the last 150 years, businesses have been pushing their message on you guys. Whether it's through radio or print or TV or whatever it may be, outdoor media billboards, they have been pushing their message down your collective throat, and if they were good at it, you converted and you bought their product, and if they were bad at it, you didn't. That was the game. What I'm doing right now was the game. giving a presentation. If I do a good job today, some of you will tweet me up, at Gary V, by the way. Some will go to Facebook, facebook.com/Gary, G-A-R-Y. Please come and say hello. I'd like to talk to you. And I also just wanted to brag to you that I have facebook.com/Gary. If I do a good job and push my message down your throat, right now on this stage, you will convert, you will take in my content, you will think of me differently. 90% of you had no idea who I was a minute ago, and we'll have some sort of relationship, and that's going to be the business. The problem is, or more importantly, the opportunity, why I'm so excited, is for the last 150 years, there's been platforms. This stage is a platform. This conference is a platform. Television, newspapers, radios, billboards, they've been platforms. But now we have a new platform that has changed the way we look at the world. See, let me tell you something, Madrid. There is no such thing as social media. Let me explain what I mean by that. Social media is a word that we're using to describe the current state of the internet. YouTube is widely referred right now as a social media site. It was a Web 2.0 site 6 years ago. And guess what? It was an internet site if it was around before that. In a couple years, we'll be calling it mobile cloud tech commuting bullshit. I don't know what the fuck we're gonna call it, but we're not gonna call it social media. Social media is confusing people. They think it is something. It's nothing. It is a word that we use to describe the internet. This has nothing to do with Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr or Foursquare or what do you guys have, 20? It has nothing to do with the platforms. These are products that are layered on top of the internet itself. And the internet, my friends, is the single most important development in society history. The internet has fundamentally changed our world, and the internet, my friends, is 17 years old, at least in the United States. And I know that a nerd's gonna raise their hand. I know nerd, 1960s, all that bullshit. I mean, when we normal people started using this fucking thing. We're talking about less than 2 decades. We're talking about 17 years. How many people in this room do not remember, just do not, you are not old enough to remember the world before the internet? Not that you have a bad memory, but you just cannot remember the world pre-internet. Raise your hand. 7. And that guy seems a little old to say that, but I'll take it. 7 people in here do not remember the world pre-internet. This thing is a baby, and every person in this room, including me, every person in this city, and very bluntly, every person in the world right now is grossly, heavily, massively underestimating the internet itself. Period. We just do not understand how big this really is. We think fancy things like like buttons and Google Plus are so shiny. This is just starting. And what it's going to do is change the way we buy everything. It is going to change the way we buy everything. If you just raised your hand, stand up. How many people here said they were not going to get a cell phone? I want you to stand up. I saw you raise your hand. Stand up. I'm waiting. I paid attention. Thank you for not lying. Stand up if you said that you were not going to get a cell phone. This is very important. Thank you. Stay. If you now have a cell phone, sit down. Anybody? Not one person. My friends, I flew here today for 2 reasons. 1, because I want to make context with every person in this room. I want to create a relationship long-term, not to sell you some bullshit book, but to possibly do business with you in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And number 2, for every person to leave this talk today and understand, you're fucking up. And let me explain why. You're underestimating what's happening. You're downplaying what's happening. We all can sit here and agree one thing, that the music industry has been disrupted by the internet. We don't buy it the same way. It's different. Let me give you another industry that is disrupted by the internet, the publishing business. That book right there, take a picture of it, because it's gonna be rare. It's the last book I'm ever gonna write with a publisher. Why should I share so much of the revenue when I could go direct to a Kindle or to an iPad and keep all of the action myself? Why should I share half of the profits with somebody who's just printing the book? The world is changing. The game is changing. And so you have to start really understanding this are very important times. But the one thing that nobody's talking about, which really bothers me or excites me, is that we are not talking about the way communication is being disrupted. The biggest thing that's being disrupted right now, actively as we sit here, is communication. The way we talk to each other has changed. Have you guys noticed what we text? Have you noticed the things that you're willing to say on Twitter and Facebook and the way you say them? You guys are saying things on Facebook that you would have never called somebody about. Nobody 10 years ago picked up the phone and said, chocolate ice cream is delicious. Now every one of you yesterday saw somebody say some dumb shit that looks just like that. We just didn't do it. You didn't pick up the phone and call every one of your friends that a movie was good. But now you go to the cinema and you see a good movie and you tell every one of your friends, or at least potentially. The way we're communicating isn't changing. It's just changing. Business. Wine Library was built on an email service. What Groupon and Living Social and all these deal the day sites, I'm sure you have your own here, have done is email's the killer app. People always underestimate email, but it's still very important. That's going to change a little bit in a little bit too, and I'll talk about that in a second. However, email open rates in America, so I can't speak for Spain, in the US since the middle of 2009 have dropped 20%. 20% in 2 years of people actually opening email. 15 years ago, 10 years ago when email first came out, we loved email. Remember when email was first invented? We were fucking pumped. We were so happy. I remember thinking, my God, I better use this as much as possible now because they're gonna start charging for this. There's no way this can be free. I'm never gonna write another letter again. Email was incredible. Now, we hate email. Who here likes email? Fair enough, I do too, but we'll talk about that later. But people don't like email. They're getting bombarded with it. They're not opening as much. Click-through rates, there's not much. Banner ads. Banner ads on the internet. They work, you can retarget, I'm fine with it. However, do you know what click-through ratio on banner ads was in 1994? It's a long time ago, but just, I want to paint you a picture. This is very early days, but in 1994, on the internet, 70% of banners were clicked. Do you know what click-through rates are today? 0.007. People don't click them. As a matter of fact, there's an interesting study that says none of you even see the right side of a website anymore because that's usually where the ads are and you've literally tuned it out. So we're living through major culture shifts, and here's where it gets interesting. I believe, sitting here today, that your grandparents are more prepared to do business in the next 10 years than you guys are. Because the way they built their businesses was by actually caring about the customer. It wasn't data, it wasn't conversion, it wasn't the value, they actually cared. When you walked into the shop, he started cutting your ham. He knew something about you. We had social context. The reason we did is because we all lived in small towns. So you knew everything about everybody's business. It is my belief that we are going back to that economy, the thank you economy. How many people here have connected with somebody on Facebook that they had not talked to in 10 years? Raise your hands. 80% of you in this room, because of Facebook, have reconnected with somebody that you had not talked to in 10 years. 20, raise it. Who's connected with people that they haven't talked to in 20 years? Raise your hands. Amazing. 15%. 30. Nobody wants to admit they're that old? Fair enough. We'll stop there. We today have more acquaintances and friends than our generations before that. We can handle more. When I went to college, there was no AOL Instant Messenger, there was no phones, there was no profiles, and when I went to school, I lost those relationships. My brother's 11 years younger than me, and because AOL was around and he was the first class with Facebook, he didn't lose any of his friends. As a matter of fact, It's impossible to get rid of fucking friends now. I couldn't keep them, now they're impossible to get rid of because we're so connected. And here's where it starts getting interesting. Let's tie the whole thing together. Every person in this room that is on these platforms will see somebody on Twitter or Facebook or 20 or whatever you use in the next 24 hours talking about a product or service. Somebody in your social graph will recommend some sort of cheeseburger, some sort of wine, some sort of something, and that will affect you. The way marketing works, the reason radio was such a big industry is because when mom was driving during the afternoon, you better run commercials for detergent and cereal and soda, so she hears it, so when she goes to the supermarket, she buys it. Now, we are going to be contexted while we're living our lives on our phones at all times by information of people that we actually care about. Every person in this room cares much more about the opinion of a product or service because of their friend, mother, brother, sister, or grandmother than it does of a big billboard or of a commercial or a newspaper or magazine ad. That is what we are talking about. We are talking about marketing. How are you going to get users? Today I met a very interesting company in the morning, right? The Ranking, right? .com. Great company. And the first thing I want to know is how are they going to get people there? Sure, they can do media and they can do guerrilla marketing and they can buy banner ads. But I'm saying to myself, in a world of social, how can they get people to talk about their product? How can, when somebody goes and votes, can they share that, pass it on, tweet it, Facebook it? The way we communicate is being disrupted. The way we talk to each other is being disrupted. But here's the problem. Here's the big secret. Here's the ultimate real problem. Businesses don't give a fuck about users. Let's call it what it is. Businesses don't care. You want to really call it what it is? They don't. And if they don't, they're going to lose long term. Because what's happening, my friends, is that we now have a voice. We now can talk and create more chatter. In America, Bank of America was going to charge everybody $5 if they had an ATM card. They just, they're trying to make more money, lots of problems. I think we all know about the economy worldwide. It's not so great. What happened? 10 years ago, CNN and Fox News and CBS would have wrote about it, and that would have been it. Today, consumers went to the social web, the internet, not social media, and they started using the tools in place, and they started talking about it. So much so, recording themselves going to the bank and taking out their money, so much so that the bank reversed it and has now stopped it. Our collective voice is more powerful than ever before. Exactly the same way that it used to be powerful when we were in a small town. When we were in a small town in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, if you fucked up, your grandpa went to the park and said, you know who sucks? The butcher's an asshole. And then he was put out of business. That's what happened. The difference is we are now talking about that same dynamic at scale. We are talking about that same dynamic at scale. People right now are using the hashtag and tweeting about me, and their friends are actually consuming this keynote, and they're in different parts of the world. Word of mouth is on steroids. Word of mouth is on steroids. It is changing the way we are going to do business, and anybody in this room that doesn't understand that they need a Facebook fan page for their business, that they need a Twitter account for their business, that they need to know what Tumblr is. And if you're selling something that 20 to 30-year-old girls want, especially in America, but soon the world, you need to know what Pinterest is. Things are evolving. And most of all, this thing, not the iPhone, but mobile phones, this thing really, really is going to matter. Every person in this room in the next decade will pay for everything with this thing. No such thing as credit cards anymore, my friends. This thing. You will get into a bar with an ID with this thing. This thing right here is going to change the way. Let me paint you a picture. I am going to go into a Walmart in 5 years, and I'm going to be buying food or whatever the hell I'm picking up, right? And I'm picking up some stuff, and I'm going to be living, and I'm sure you all know this, like everybody else does, I'm just going to be looking at my phone. When you're out and about, people are looking at their phones, wherever they are, at all times. This is crack cocaine. This is a drug. This is dangerous. Let me prove it to you. How many people in this room, in every 24-hour period, are never, including when they're sleeping, are never without arm's reach of their phone? How many of you are never, including when you sleep, further away from your phone than arm's reach? Don't lie, lying is the devil. Raise your hands. 25%. I mean, this is going to lead to the robot. Soon it's going to be here, then we're going to be here. They're going to win the whole thing. It's going to be very scary. Robots scare me. But we'll all die before then, so don't worry. Anyway, this is going to change the dynamic heavily. I will be at Walmart. I'll be shopping, Tesco, whatever the heck you have, right? And I'll be living. And all of a sudden, my friend's going to say that he loves peaches, or that today he just drank this new bottle of wine that was delicious, or pizza from this company is fantastic. And I'm gonna see that. And I'm gonna see that. And because there's gonna be a platform, I'm gonna see it. Right now, the way you see your social screen, I'm gonna see Johnny Thompson says that he loves M&M candy bar, the new candy bar. Now, if I'm living in my living room, I'll just see that. But if I'm in Tesco or Walmart or a supermarket, I'll see a little coupon right there. I'll see a little coupon right next to that comment. And I'm gonna click it because my GPS is gonna know where I am. And the store is gonna buy ads on a platform based on social conversations. Doesn't exist yet, but it's coming. And I'm gonna click it and it's gonna say, and if you wanna pick up an M&M's here at Tesco, we'll give you $1 off. Now, it wasn't a coupon or a radio ad. This is my friend John, who said it's delicious, who I have more emotional relationship to than a newspaper ad or a commercial during a Real Madrid football match. No emotion there, plenty of emotion that John told me. So then I go and get it, and oh, by the way, because the world we're gonna live in is gonna look like this, I'm gonna buy the Snickers, I'm just gonna scan, it's gonna have the coupon in it, $1 off, and I'm gonna pay with it. But you know what else is more important? We're gonna be able to see the data. On the back end, M&M's is going to be able to see that yesterday, 23,417 people talked about their product on the social web, and it resulted in $7,812 in sales. We will be able to connect all the dots like never before of how word of mouth impacts people's business. Now that's a consumer product. What if you're B2B? 136 years old, takes his phone out, launches TweetDeck, which is a Twitter application for the iPhone. I'm standing behind Hal, my wife Lizzie is standing right here. I'm kind of looking, because I was curious what he was gonna do, because I always look at that. One day I'm gonna go to jail because I'm always looking what people are doing. He launches TweetDeck, I'm standing behind him, I see it. I look at my wife Lizzie and I say, holy shit. She looks at me and says, are you gonna tell this story in one of your keynotes? And I said, fuck yes. So I can't really get in there and I see he types something and he just waits. And then he just walks and then he gets up there and he's the person right before, takes out his phone and he says, honey, we're gonna go see the social network. Everybody says it's really good. This is why this is so important to me. Bless you. 10 years ago, Hal would have sat on the couch on a Thursday night and would have watched the very popular American show, Siskel and Ebert, and they would have told him what movie to go see. Siskel and Ebert, 10 years ago, would have told Hal how to spend his $30. 5 years ago, Hal might have went through the New York Times and saw the reviews, and the New York Times would have told Hal what to go see. 3 years ago, if Hal was really hip when he was 133 years old, he would have went to RottenTomatoes.com and they would have told him what movie to go see. Today, 100-year-old Hal, not 18-year-old kid, 100-year-old Hal had his social network tell him what to spend his money on. We are going to collectively spend trillions of dollars in the next decade strictly based on word of mouth, and that word of mouth is going to be delivered to you, not on a fucking horse, not in a letter, not with a phone, but through the social web. And that's why social media matters. Because if you do not have the ability to humanize your business, to have a relationship with customers, to be in a place where you push out words and people take it and share it and move it on, then you will be out of business. We are going to be living in a world where we are going to be living in reverse SEO. How many people here do SEO or search engine marketing, anything like that for your businesses? Just curious, raise your hands. Just getting context, okay? So for the 5% of you, SEO is going to be turned on its head. I used to 10 years ago go to Google and search for what I needed. Today, I tweet it out or put it on Facebook and let it come to me. Or more importantly, because I live in a stream economy. Let me say it again. Because I live in a stream economy, meaning my Facebook wall and my Twitter stream and my Tumblr dashboard are now the way I consume product. They are now my RSS feed. They are the way I live and consume. I do not seek out information, stories, and products seek me out through the recommendations of the people that I follow. So when I log in the morning, I take my computer and I go take a poop and I check my email, and then I let the stream tell me what's going on in the world. This is very, very important because it is totally different than the way that we used to do business. And I believe that we are living through something even more fascinating, which is the humanization of logos. I believe that we are living through the humanization of business. I believe people in this room have a relationship with this swoosh if this swoosh knows what to do next. Because they've been very good at pushing, but they haven't been very good at listening. My big debate is who can listen the best? How many people in this room use Facebook and Twitter the way they use email and advertising? They push. Nobody follows you on Facebook and Twitter, so you can use it as a press release. So you can show them another video of what you've done. So you can tell them how cool you are. They follow it for something relevant. But more importantly, I believe the reason to be on social is to listen and respond. Reactionary business. I don't care about what I'm supposed to say. I don't have anything to say. I want to respond to what people are talking about. We've gone from a presentation to a cocktail party. The way to be successful on the internet in 2012 and beyond is to be the kind of person that is good at a cocktail party. Who can listen and respond on their feet. I'm not fucking giving you PowerPoint here. That's not what I'm looking to do, and that's not what companies are supposed to do going forward. So, we're living in a world of the humanization of business. Let me explain. When you get a chance, go to twitter.com/brisk, B-R-I-S-K. They're one of the clients of my social media agency, Vaynermedia. They're an iced tea, the drink. What do you say on Twitter when you're an iced tea? I'm delicious and wet? What do you say? There's nothing to say. 2003. They continue to act like the world's 2003 with their email services and their banner ads and their mail ads and radio and newspaper ads and magazine ads and all that horseshit. And the reason they say, well, this doesn't work or I don't understand it is they're waiting for the data. What's the ROI of social media? Let me close with this and then we'll go into Q&A. Somebody recently asked me, what's the ROI of social media? She was actually the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of a major company. And she was giving me a very hard time in the meeting. She goes, this is all great. And I see that our Facebook page has more people and now they talk more, but what's the ROI? What does this lead to? How do I make money? And she was pounding me. She goes, what's the ROI of social media? And she was trying to make a point because she is in a very conservative company that respects old tactics, not new tactics. So she was being smart. She was saying, what is the ROI of social media? Prove it to me. And I gave her the best I could. I showed her her Facebook page before, and I said, Engagement has gone up. You used to have this many fans. Now you have many more because we've contexted everybody, real relationships. It leads to impressions, which leads to acquisition at the register. Here's the way you use it for radio. It's the same for internet, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't buying it. Then I said to her, what's the ROI of television and print and radio? You can buy an ad in page 147 of Vogue. I know that there's 1 million people that get Vogue, but how many people saw your ad? You don't know. You don't know how many people saw your commercial. You don't know how many people saw your billboard. So I played that ad. She wasn't buying it. She said, that's tried and true. It's been proven. So she's pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And she goes, but what's the ROI of social media? And finally I snap. There's 10 of us in the room, all buttoned up, board members of the company, top executives, multi-billion-dollar, $10 billion company. Gary, what's the ROI of social media? And I look at her and I say, what's the ROI of your mother? And so everybody goes, and it didn't go over very well. But I wasn't trying to make a mother joke. I wasn't trying to insult her. I said, what's the ROI of your mother? And she looked at me, very upset. I said, I'm not trying to upset you, but let me explain. The ROI of my mother is the reason I'm standing here right now. The ROI of my mother is that she parented me so perfectly, so well, gave me so much self-esteem, kept me in check, taught me good manners, told me who to be as a human being. She did so many things right that everything I accomplished, the reason I think I can buy $1 billion football team is because of my mother, all of it. But I can't come to Madrid and show you on a PowerPoint presentation. Well, here in 5th grade, when I got a mullet haircut and looked ridiculous, my mom said that I was beautiful, thus building my self-esteem, as you can see here on the chart, which led me to be able to sell more baseball cards, which led me to be able to learn the wine business, which led me to the next thing. I can't show you in a chart the ROI of my mother, but I promise you, it's hundreds of millions of dollars. If you do not understand right now, if you do not understand the value of Facebook and Twitter and Foursquare and Tumblr in the world we live in today, if you do not understand that right now, you're in deep trouble, period. You are the same person that said the internet was gonna be a fad, that I never needed a cell phone, but most of you adjusted, good job. And more importantly, you are the same person that even though the car was invented, they were stubborn and they bought 5,000 horses because they thought horses would never be replaced. Technology does not give a shit about you, me, or anybody else. It doesn't care what you think you're going to do. It doesn't care what you want to do. It's going to do its thing. And it is our jobs as business people to adjust to the reality of the marketplace. I implore you to wake up and realize it's 2012, and that if you do not go to one-on-one marketing, if you do not start creating engagement with every person that talks about your brand, if you do not leave this room right now and go to twitter.com/search and look at how people are talking about your business right now, and you're like an ostrich with your head in the sand and not engaging, this will happen with or without you, and I promise you, the reason I'm here is try to get you with it, because if you don't, you will be out of business, just like Blockbuster 10 years ago said, who cares about Netflix? People like going to the store and buying their DVDs. How'd that work out for them? The world has changed. Don't be stubborn. Start caring about your customer. Start giving a shit about everything that's said about you and engage it. You know how you scale it? People are like, okay, Gary, I believe you. But how do we scale? 50, 100, 500, 10,000 people talking about our business. It's quite simple, my friends. Here's how you scale it. Human beings. As we go more digital, as this all gets more technical, the action, the opportunity is in the human beings. The people that know how to engage and bring heart and soul to a logo are going to be the businesses that succeed going forward. Thank you.